Hey everyone, it's happy Halloween. Um, I know I'm not posting this until Halloween's over, but I'm recording it on Halloween, and yeah, so I hope you guys all have a good one. So today I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk about the stuff that's been happening to me, because I know some people are curious and some people have maybe know a little bit, but I'm going to talk about all of it. But first, I'm going to talk about magic. Um, it's Halloween after all, right? So what better time? And here's the thing: is that science has kind of proved already with quantum physics that magic's kind of real. Like magic is possible. It's quantum entanglement. It's that's two energies kind of connecting. Um, and that connection can take place over space, time, all sorts of things. Um, so science has kind of proved already that magic is real. Um, so the things that like voodoo, witchcraft, I mean, they use focal points, they use intention, they use quantum entanglement to, reach out and touch someone. um, and I've known this for a while, but I just kind of assumed it was very small and, not real widespread. It was just a few people doing it. And, it wasn't having much impact really on much anything. But the reality is that's not actually true, as I've discovered over the last few months. Um, and as I've come under attack myself, um, and the at the base level. Sorry, I'm kind of itch there. At the base level, it's just you're talking about people who are just kind of energy vampires. Now, this could be, like there's like full on energy vampires. That's just like what they do. But there's a lot of other people who are just kind of, people just suck your energy a little bit, right? Um, that's like a little small form of witchcraft. You know what I mean? Like it's people who, they're kind of in your space, they're in your business, just more than they should be, but they're not really being mean or anything that like makes you want to go, hey, get the fuck out of my space, get the fuck out of my business. And so you just kind of let them, you know what I mean? And they just kind of glom on, and they just kind of drain your energy. And I think most of us have experienced that, right? So that's like the smallest. That's like the low level, and then you can go up from there. People who are a little more committed, energy vampires. Um, but then you can get into some stuff that's kind of goes past that. Like I said, the voodoo, the witchcraft, and that's when you get into the candle magic, or you light candles, you take focus items, that maybe represent something that you're quantumly entangled with, or an item that somebody you're trying to target. Um, that's where the voodoo doll comes in. You can dress like somebody who you're trying to target. So it's just a lot of different ways to do it. Um, but it's all based on that quantum entanglement. It's all based on the energy, and you know, we can all do this, to varying degrees. Um, but it's meant to be done in like a light sort of way, in a positive sort of way. This stuff exists so we can heal ourselves, so we can help heal each other, so we can heal the world. You know what I mean? But it's been really kind of twisted up by people who are not in the light, um, who are doing some pretty dark shit, and it's been going on for a while, and it's way more prevalent than I thought. Um, as I found out personally, when I came under attack myself by some of this stuff. Um, they use candle magic to try to confuse me, to try to make me sick, to take my breath, to take my voice, stuff like that, make my feet hurt, my skin fucked up. Notice my skin's looking a lot better. My stomach, so stuff like that. Um, that's kind of the next level. And then from there you can get into like even darker shit where you have like like orgies with like sex magic that can really fuck somebody up in a you know more deep level. I don't really want to get too much into that. um yeah, none of this is stuff I really want to think too much about. um but I'm just trying to explain to people what is happening. um and then the very next level is now you're getting into some real dark shit like trying to kill people. Human sacrifice, animal sacrifice, blood magic. um, Again, it's quantum entanglement. They're using quantum entanglement, using rituals to focus their energy, using focal items to harness that and send it the way that they want. um, yeah, that shit's out there. And here's the thing is that it's been going on for a long time. And I think this started back in the 70s or 80s. I don't know. Where, somebody kind of figured this stuff out and started doing it. And, I think it was just a handful of practitioners and they were doing it. But as they were successful with it and gained power, gained wealth, gained whatever it was they were looking for, as dipshits like this tend to do, they got greedy, and just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're probably talking about some pretty prominent people at this point. If they've been doing it for this long. Sorry, let's go by. They don't want me getting this out. Just kidding. Kind of. Yeah, so this has been going on for a long time, and here's the thing: is what started like kind of small with this individuals being targeted, groups being targeted. It's grown. These people have, as they wanted more power, they couldn't do it on their own, so they went recruiting. They found minions, people who were, they shared what they were doing with them, and these people started doing it. And then the minions, recruited flying monkeys, and it became a whole thing. And that's what we've been dealing with in the world. That's why shit is so fucked up. That's why it just feels heavy and wrong and fucked up, right? It's this dark energy that they've been putting out there for their own gain. And as it's gone along over time, and they recruited, and more and more people are doing it, it's all tied together because it all traces back to a handful of people, probably, or I don't know exactly, but and so it just grows, and it's like a giant spider web where it just all these individual acts of fuckery get intertwined, and just over time it's just grown and grown and grown to the point where it just blankets the world now. And that's why things are so messed up. That's why things are just, we can't seem to fix anything. That's why, like good ideas just never seem to gain any traction, and dipshits keeping the power, And I am firmly convinced that, the people who are at the top of this, they're pretty heavily involved with the tech industry, because, that's the opposite of this. It's the opposite of the energy that we all have, that we all possess, the magic that we all have, that we can all do, to some degree. I'm not saying do dark magic, but we all have this energy. We all can quantum entangle. We can all manifest, and and manifestation isn't like God's not going to bring the mountain to you. Like if you ask for a mountain, he'll make a mountain, but you gotta walk the path to it. So whether it's wealth or love or abundance or anything, it's, if you ask for it, the universe will give it to you, but you got to walk the path to it. It doesn't bring it to you. But this is in all of us. Sorry, I'm shivering. It's cold out here. And so this tech stuff, this AI, it's meant to replace that. It's meant to convince people that they don't have this in them, that we can't do this without the technology. You know what I mean? That we need this shit, the AI, the garbage. It's just fuck. Don't even get me started. That's a whole nother rant. But that's what it is. I think. I think at the core that's what this is. Like They want to replace the magic that we can all do with machines and bullshit, that we don't need. But they're dead set on convincing us that we do. But the spider web of darkness that's engulfed the world, there's a bit of it's kind of like the Death Star. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, who the hell designed that stupid porthole where you can just if you just shoot down that, like it blows the whole thing up. By connecting all of it, the second something messed up, the second something went bad, the second something backfired on them, it's going to unravel the whole web. Maybe not immediately, it depends on how it goes, but that's what's happening right now. And that's what I've been dealing with is, one of these minions who got some knowledge that they frankly probably weren't smart enough to get on their own. They got some knowledge and they started using it to come after me. And there's a lot of people who came after me, and I think it's a mix. I think some of them are just, like they were just flying monkeys. They were the people who they didn't like me for whatever reason, and they got on board, and they were just happy to be haters. But at the heart of it, the people who are at the heart of this recent attack on me, that's somebody who is doing this shit. And the reason that they've been doing it is because it gives them, they've been getting power from this. They've been stealing my energy. It's been benefiting them in multiple ways. But like they always do, they get greedy. And as they got greedy, I was catching on, and I was healing. I was, recovering from all the trauma of my youth, and really understanding that, real power lies in self-love and self-validation. That, nobody can really touch you if you love yourself, and if you don't need anybody else to validate you, who gives a shit what anybody thinks or what they do, so they can't make you feel bad. That's a lot of this. That's where a lot of this begins, is like the narcissism, the gaslighting, the, just taking you off your pins a little bit, and making you doubt yourself, making you feel like shit about yourself. And then, once they've kind of like created that opening, they can flood in with this dark energy shit that they do to confuse you, to, make you sick, to, just make you unwell. And, we've all got, if you're not doing dark magic, you're probably under attack by dark magic. And if you're not, you are very much the exception, not the rule. I promise you. So this is hitting all of us, okay? But the spider web is unraveling.